I'm Sally Beamish, I'm a composer, and I was commissioned by the Academy of St Martin in the Fields to write a string octet, which I've called Partita. My relationship with the Academy goes back a long way because my mother was a violinist and played with the Academy in the 60s and 70s, and so I would go along to sessions and experience that. And then in the 80s I auditioned myself as a viola player and played with the Academy for about 5 or 6 years in the 80s before I decided to concentrate on composing. Well, being asked to write a string octet was very exciting for me because there aren't that many string octets, and so it's always good to add something to a small repertoire. Obviously, Mendelssohn is the big role model. I mean, he was only 16 when he wrote his octet, but it's what you think of. When you think of a string octet, you think of the Mendelssohn. So I wanted to relate my piece in some way to his. Mendelssohn was quite clearly very interested in Baroque music. He was a huge advocate of Bach. He kind of rediscovered Bach and brought him out from the history books. He writes brilliantly in a contrapuntal way, which is what happened in Baroque times, that you would have different voices following each other, so fugues and canons, and very clever mathematical ways of putting music together. So that was something else I wanted to explore. So the first movement, which is called Prelude, is based on the first movement of Bach's D minor Partita for solo violin. At the beginning, there's a very simple, repeated fragment of Bach, and that then becomes the basis of the whole of the first movement. The second movement is based on the Messiah theme, Handel's Messiah, which Mendelssohn uses in his octet. But I've made it very, very slow and atmospheric. It's a fugue built on that same theme, but it's a completely different character from the one that Handel and then Mendelssohn give it. It's very meditative. The third movement is called Chakon, and a Chakon is a set of variations on a theme, and I've taken a theme which is by Mendelssohn, and a lot of people don't know it's by Mendelssohn, but it's the Wedding March, and he wrote the Wedding March, which is heard in most weddings, and I chose that because this piece is dedicated to the Academy, but also to my husband, and it was just before our wedding that I wrote the piece. So the Wedding March is in there in that last movement, but really heavily disguised because I've done a different variation on it for each of these solo instruments, so they each get their moment playing a fun variation on that theme. But you don't really hear the theme until the first viola has a go at playing it, but gets interrupted. He tries twice, but he gets interrupted. So you hear a little bit of it coming through. The Academy has always been an orchestra of soloists, and the Academy Ensemble is the same. They are all soloists in their own right. So that was a very exciting thing, to give each of the players a solo voice.
I get a great thrill from playing Sally's piece. It's incredibly exciting to play, particularly the final movement. There's a lot of buzz.
Sally has stretched the boundaries of what you can say. The combination of how you use the violin, how you use the instruments, how it all fits together. For me, it is a completely different sound world. It is wonderful in that sense, and I love that.
It's been really great to work with Sally and even, suggesting some notes or some ideas with her. She's been so open to that, and that's quite unusual. And it's nice to think that maybe 100 years' time people will be playing it and we'll have helped shape the edition that people will be playing.
Really, it's like with a new play that the roles are created by the first people to play those roles, and that's how it's felt working with this group of 8 people. They are creating these roles for the first time. That's wonderful for a composer to have that back and forth process, so I'm learning from them.